Greetings, students, and welcome to this episode of The Professor Travel. I am your host, The Professor Travel, coming to you from Orange County, California. This is the website, the vlog, and the podcast that you come to in order to learn more about different travel locations, where we come in order to collaborate as a community in order to discuss more. We come together in order to hopefully travel more and go to places that we haven't been, and ultimately to enjoy life more. Now, you can reach me through a variety of different medium, including my website, which is at www.theprofessortravel.com. On either YouTube or on Facebook, you can find me at The Professor Travel. I am now available on TikTok, so you can find me there at The Professor Travel. On Instagram, if you're on Instagram, you can see me there at _professor_travel. On Twitter, if you're there, you can find me at TheProfessorTR1. And then finally, if you are a blogger, you can find me on Blogspot at theprofessortravel.blogspot.com. Today, our visiting professor joining us is Professor Rob Brandon. Say hi to everybody, Rob.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Rob recently went on a few different locations, and I asked him to join us to talk about a little bit about them. But before we get into that, Rob, can you please share with my students just a little bit of information about your background, maybe some information about your educational background, and maybe some places that you've gone to?
Yeah, you bet. My educational background, I have a Bachelor of Science degree in psychology. Went to Colorado State University, graduated there from it's dating myself, but 1995. Love to travel, been to several places overseas. I actually used to be in a barbershop quartet where I did some traveling.
Oh, wow.
As well as a course over there. So we went to Germany and Luxembourg and France. Also been to Barcelona, Paris, and Ibiza. And then, of course, this next vacation that I went on that we'll talk about soon.
So let's lead into that since you brought it up. So where did you decide to go to on this trip, and what was your motivation of wanting to go to the places that you went to?
The main reason I was going over there was my daughter is studying abroad in a small town called Reggio Emilia in Italy. And so that was my main purpose in going over there and checking things out with her.
Okay. Cool. And how long was this excursion of this vacation for?
I ended up going over there for 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay, that's a lovely big amount of time.
Yeah.
And then based upon your travel plans and where you were going to, did you have to get a visa or any type of travel medications, anything like that at all?
No, all I needed was a passport.
Okay, sounds perfect.
Yeah.
So then let's start to talk about the pre-packing process. Now, before we get started on this, were you actually traveling with your daughter, or was your daughter already over there and you just went to go visit her?
Yeah, my daughter was already over there and I went to go visit her over there.
Okay, perfect. So let's start to talk about the pre-packing process. You know you're going to be gone for a couple of weeks. What did you kind of think about that you would need to have, like weather-wise, clothing-wise? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I checked the weather reports over there, and basically it showed that it was supposed to rain the whole time. So I wanted to be prepared in regards to that. Since I was going to be picking up and moving a lot of different places, I wanted a lot, you know. So I didn't bring a lot. I brought about maybe 4 shirts, 4 pairs of pants, and then of course I was going over to Italy. So I was planning to buy a bunch of clothes while I was over there.
Of course, because when in Milan, you might as well.
Yeah, stuff in Milan was amazing. So, and then I bought had a trench coat, couple beanies, and my hygiene stuff, and I was good to go. I'm not a pre-planner when it comes to packing, so I pretty much packed maybe 48 hours before I left.
Oh, I don't know if I could do that. Well, maybe for like a short like Vegas excursion or something like that, but not for Europe. I'm that type. Okay, so my husband and I have very different views on stuff. Like I will pack usually a couple of days in advance, or like maybe even a week in advance, but I'm trying to minimalize everything because I do a lot of traveling. He will pack multiple suitcases for pretty much every occasion. So I understand kind of where the mindset goes on pre-packing. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Definitely nice to have choices, but yeah, I just wanted to, and I also didn't want to have the over the limit, because traveling over there, especially on the smaller planes, they really get you with cost.
Oh yeah. Now, actually, let's talk about the departure. Now, you've left from LAX, is that correct?
Yes, yeah, yes.
And you were traveling from LAX to Newark, if I understood
Newark,
you correctly.
New Jersey, yes.
stayed there only for a few hours, and then you were on to which airport?
To Milan.
Milan. Okay.
Milan in Italy. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So how long did that whole trip take you in order to get there, including the stopover? Do you know?
It took about 15 hours.
15 hours? Okay.
Yeah.
And did you leave on like a red-eye flight from LAX, or did you leave from the morning?
Yeah, I left around 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock at night. And I ended up getting into, well, the time change, of course, was different, but and I ended up getting in there about 8:30 in the morning.
Okay. And are you one of those people that like us? I have problems sleeping on planes. Did you find that similar difficulty, or?
I tried not to sleep just because of the sense of that I was going to get there at 8:30, so I was like, I'll just wing it and just make it happen, and then get some sleep that evening.
Okay, that makes sense. Speaking of flights, which airline did you decide to go on?
I did United, actually.
I'm a big United fan. I'm a mileage plus carrier myself. So
yeah, and it was the least expensive. It was actually, I was really amazed how inexpensive it was.
Nice. And did you go through coach or did you upgrade?
No, I just did the coach.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's crazy how first class they jumped that price.
Oh yeah.
But believe me, I tried when I got to the airport, but it didn't work.
Well, at least you got there, and part of the journey is, hey, I'm in Italy. Congratulations.
Exactly.
So that's kind of nice. Now, because you didn't stop in Newark for any length of time, I'm going to skip the part that talks about the pre-vacation destination, and let's move on to when you were planning the trip.
I would, not to cut you off there, I would say that the Newark airport was really nice.
Oh yeah, really, like which terminal?
Yeah, really, really nice, really updated, a lot of technology, a lot of nice restaurants, and not crowded. It just felt comfortable, where if you had to stay there for a certain amount of time, you would have plenty to do.
I want to say when I go through Newark, typically I usually go through, I want to say it's Terminal C or the third terminal, whatever that is.
Yeah, I think it was C if I recall it.
They have a great steakhouse in there. That's
and sushi bar. They have a sushi bar that's right on the alley there, the way where you walk, which is really nice.
Oh, it sounds like they've upgraded, because the last time I was there, they did not have that. So, well, I definitely want to get some insight on that from you as well as we continue to go along through this. Now, when you were planning out the trip, what kind of accommodations were you looking at? Were you looking at hotels or timeshares or Airbnbs? What were you looking at?
I did a couple different things. So my first destination was Milan. So I for sure, just wanted a hotel. That's where I was going to meet my daughter. Okay. So I just got a hotel for the night. She wasn't meeting me until the next day, because she was actually traveling in where'd she go? I'm trying to think where she was traveling somewhere else.
Okay.
So we met there. But my biggest plan was Prague, which that we'll talk a lot about. And so I planned Prague, but I didn't plan any other hotel destination, because I didn't know what I was going to do, and I wanted to be spontaneous and go with the flow when I got over there. It was off season, so I checked out all the hotels, and there was plenty of room in all the hotels, so I wasn't concerned.
Okay, cool. So you already did a little bit of pre-research ahead of time to know the prices weren't going to be overly outrageous, and there was going to be an ample amount of availability, it sounds like.
Exactly.
Okay, that's good. So let's then start with the itinerary. This is where I'll let you kind of take over a little bit and kind of go through the cities that you went through, and maybe let's just pluck one thing from each location that you decided to go to.
Okay. All right, well, let's start with Milan first. So the first time I flew into Milan airport, and ended up going into the city of Milan. Got fashion, I wanted to be right in the middle of it all. So I stayed in a hotel. Let me see, that hotel was NH Milano. And it was kind of a boutique. So that's when I travel, I like to do boutique hotels. I don't like the big hotels. I like when I'm coming and going, people remember me, I get to know the staff. So that was really, really nice staying there. And I stayed right down in city center. So I was able to go right to the fashion district and do a lot of shopping in regards to that area.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really nice. And we stayed there. I stayed there for 2 days. And we actually, all we did was eat, drink wine, and shop.
I can think of worse things to do.
And then we also, of course, went to the cathedral there. That was amazing.
Lovely.
The Milan Cathedral was absolutely beautiful.
Did you, by any chance, did you get a Eurorail pass or any way to get around through the trains, or did you kind of?
No, but they have a really cool app now where you can just download the app and actually buy all the tickets on the app.
Okay.
Which made it really helpful, because I've traveled when I was traveling over in London and over in that area back, that was a good 20 years ago. But you get so scared because everything's in a different language, but their system was very, very easy to know where you needed to be and what platform you had to go on.
Okay. Cool.
So
nice. Where were we at after Milan?
So after Milan, we went to Reggio Emilia. That's a small little city out of Bologna, and we took the train over there. And then we were just there for one day, and that's where my daughter was staying. But it was a really cute little town. The cobblestone streets, small little shops that were probably like 40 by 40. I mean, just really cute little area there.
I was going to ask you, how far is Bologna from there?
It's about, I'm going to say train ride was about 35 minutes.
That's not bad. And for the students who are watching right now, Bologna has, I think, one of the oldest universities in the world.
Yes, yeah.
So, I mean, if you're an academic like I am, it's definitely worth potentially going there and checking out just for the history alone. Just seeing.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah, the architecture and just the small little towns are really cute.
Absolutely. So, where do we go from there?
Well, let's see. Where did we go from there? We went to we went to Venice.
Oh.
We ended up going over to Venice. Now, this was interesting. This was actually very exciting. Like at my age, I've only seen pictures. I've only heard about it, and I was really devastated because about a month before I left is when all the flooding occurred.
Yeah.
And of course, Venice always has flooding, but this year it was a lot worse. So we almost decided not to go. And I was like, no, we're still going. We still got to do it. So we ended up getting there, and it was the most beautiful city. You would have never known that the flood even happened.
Yeah.
They cleaned it up very quickly, and probably was one of my very favorite spots for sure.
We were actually in Venice in August, right before the flooding took place. So we were there right before, you were there right after.
Oh, okay, wow, okay.
We hit the sweet spot, so good for us.
Yeah, it was great. There was nobody there. Everybody was scared to go. So it wasn't busy at all. So it was really neat.
Awesome. Perfect. And what were some highlights of Venice? What were some things that you
again, we ate, we drank, we shopped. I think the highlight was definitely the gondola. Gondola was absolutely amazing. Our gondolier, I can't remember his name right now, but we're actually Facebook friends now, and we always, we're still contacting each other. But he was amazing. He was actually the son of, it's been in the gondolier company's been in generations for years.
Yeah.
And I guess it's really an actual very, very hard job to get. There's a lot of training, a lot of stuff that goes into it to become one.
Yeah, first off, you have to be a Venetian.
And you have to be Venetian, yes.
And the gondolier, the gondolas, I think actually have to be part of the family, and it's constantly refurbished, because I don't think they'll let them make new ones. I think it has to be the same one that's been there for like.
Same one. It has to have all the history of all the ancestors.
Exactly, and the family is the one that's responsible for maintaining that and all that kind of stuff. So they're like these
pretty amazing
gondolier families that are like,
it really is. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Wonderful. So where do we go after Venice?
So after Venice, we jumped up to Prague.
Okay.
Which was
talk to me about Prague, because I've never been to the Czech Republic at all.
Okay, you gotta go. You gotta go for sure. That's your next spot. And I will then do the vlog for you.
Oh, thank you.
I'll ask you questions.
Well, talk to me. Like, what would I want to do in going to Prague?
Prague was the main destination when I got over there. So I really planned this one. I wanted to stay in an Airbnb there, because now I've been traveling for about 5 or 6 days before I got there. And hotels are nice, but I wanted something that felt homey and where we could experience Prague, right?
Yeah.
So we found a great spot on Airbnb.
Okay.
And great host, and it was on the top floor of one of the buildings there, right downtown by the clock. And it was beautiful. It was like a penthouse on top, so we could see the view of the cathedral, of all of Prague. So it was absolutely beautiful.
Sounds delightful.
Yeah. So, and then what we did was also planned a couple different things. You have to remember, I was traveling with my daughter. So Friday night that we got there, we did a pub crawl, and that was a lot of fun. We actually found that on Airbnb. Okay. So we did a pub crawl there, which was really, really cool. So there was a bunch of people from all over the country that we met. We met people from Mission Viejo, which I'm from, which was crazy, and met people all over. So we did that day. Then the next day, we actually ended up relaxing and just doing our own sightseeing, walking around, ate, drank, shopped. And it's kind of a theme, right?
Yeah, it's like it just keeps going back to eat, drink, shop. So I like that.
What we were there during the Christmas markets.
Oh,
and
talk about that.
This was beautiful. Yeah, so they have Christmas markets in every kind of little center, I guess you would call it, right? And it was just a bunch of little markets, little street vendors selling Christmas memorabilia, selling hot wine, selling apple cider, meats, foods, cheeses, all that different stuff, as well as beautiful Christmas trees and decorations and all that good stuff, which I'm sure you saw on my trip. It's just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and we actually have a couple of pictures that you were kind enough to let us use, and I'll have those coming up in just a minute for people to take a look at. So that's really, really quite lovely.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. So then we did that all day on Saturday. Then wanted to surprise my daughter, and we ended up doing a dinner cruise. And so that was really, really nice. It was just really relaxing. We cruised the river there and ate and drank and just enjoyed the night. Just really enjoyed the night. The crazy thing is while I was there, realized, and that's what social media is so great, realized a good old high school friend of mine was there at the same time. His name's Carl. And yeah, and so we ended up hanging out with him and his partner, his husband, and really enjoyed Prague together on Saturday night.
I'll have to talk to you offline because I want to know who was there. Because I mean, you and I went to high school together, and I was like, oh,
yeah, exactly.
So I was like, okay, cool. All right, cool. So where were we going after Prague?
Okay, so actually, Prague's not even done yet. So
oh my gosh, keep going.
Yeah. So then on Sunday, this was my most favorite. Is we ended up, and this was off of, it was either Expedia or Airbnb, I can't remember, but we ended up getting a local tour guide. And actually, we met, and we were with him for about 5 hours for the day, and we walked all of Prague, so we were able to, hear all the history and all the war stories of, of Hitler and Beethoven and Mozart, just incredible. There's so much history to it, and so that's what we did on Sunday, and then Sunday night we just kind of relaxed and had dinner, and then left on Monday.
Oh.
But yeah, that was the most. If anything, I would say is the local tour guide. It was the best. And what was nice about him is he only took 15 people, so it could be very intimate. We saw a lot of other groups, there that had like 50 or 60 people on them. Nice. And it just wasn't intimate. You could tell that we were the lucky ones that had the nice, the great.
Exactly. You're like, I got the good one. Yeah, I'm happy about this. Very nicely done. Okay, so now you're heading back from Prague to the U.S. How was the return trip, and did you have global entry or anything like that?
No, it was pretty simple. It was the same type of thing. We stopped in Newark, and I went through customs there. And then flew into LA.
Okay. Not a problem. By the way, here are some of these wonderful pictures that you shared with us. Just so we go around here, talk to me a little bit about some of the pictures here. What are we seeing here?
Yeah, so the top one with me and the birds. So that was in Milan in front of the cathedral, and it was pretty cool. There's birds everywhere, and a guy came up to me. Didn't even ask. I ended up giving him too much money too. But anyway, that's another story. He handed me a bunch of bird seed, and all of a sudden, all these birds started jumping all over me. And we got some great pictures. Like that picture is just amazing. It's awesome.
It's a really good picture. And for the people who are listening on the podcast, you have to come and see the YouTube picture or the YouTube page in order for us to be able to really share with this. Although we'll share some information later on about how to contact Rob in case you want to get more information about this trip that he took. What's the one that's right below it?
Right below, that's a shot of one of the Christmas markets in Prague. And behind it, it's another cathedral that the big emperor built for him and his wife.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So what are we looking at in the center of because that's a huge crowd.
Oh, it's such a beautiful. So that's basically in the epicenter of Prague. That's one of the biggest Christmas markets right there.
Excellent.
And what's crazy is I filtered it a little bit, but not much, just to kind of bring out some color. But that's the true actual picture, and the architecture, it's such a beautiful city.
It looks amazing. And I'm assuming that the clock tower is the next picture. That's right.
Yeah, that's the first mechanical clock tower. And what's crazy about that, be brief on it, but you really need to look this up. It was really fascinating that the guy that actually invented that and built it, they were so impressed by it, they actually cut off, they ended up blinding him. They ended up blinding the actual creator of that clock. But he could not go to any other city and replicate it.
Oh my God!
Wanted to have that clock just for themselves.
Talking about suffering for your art.
Yeah, exactly. But the funny thing is he was a little upset about it, and so he took this little piece. Yeah, of course, right? Took this little piece out of the clock, then made the clock. I can't remember how many years, but the clock didn't work until for 40 years.
Oh my God.
Until another person came in and figured out what was missing and fixed it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And right on the right side of this clock is where they have all the off with your head type of things.
Oh, guillotine?
The guillotine in those days.
Oh my gosh. Well, these are beautiful pictures and you did a great job in taking them. So thank you so very much for that. Let's talk about some post-vacation thoughts. So what were the pros of going on a vacation like this?
Well, first of all, pros is just getting away, right? Getting away. I'm in real estate, so I work a 7-day week, and so it was just really nice to get away and definitely spend some time with my oldest daughter.
That's awesome.
Biggest pro for sure. And just the history. I'm a history buff, so a lot of there's so much history over there that we don't really have over here in the U.S. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. If I'm correct, you grew up in Southern California as I did as well, correct?
Yes, I did.
And so for us, some of the oldest buildings here in Southern California are maybe 100 years old.
Exactly.
Something like that. When you go back to the East Coast, maybe they're a couple hundred years, but when you go into places like Prague or Venice or somewhere like that, they're like maybe in some cases 1,000 years old or 500 years old. It's
crazy.
It's insane. So just being part of that living history is so amazing when you can really absorb it and just see what that's all like. So appreciate you taking the time to explain that to us. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Also, maybe so for some of my students that are first-time travelers to these locations, what would be something that you think that they should be aware of?
I think the biggest thing aware is to take your time. It's kind of one of those things where I kind of felt like I was on a cruise ship, right? Where you get to stay 1 or 2 days and then you take off to the next. Depending on what type of lifestyle you want on vacation, I would say maybe just pick 1 or 2 destinations. Because of course, we haven't talked about all that. We didn't talk about all my spots, but I was at 5 or 6 locations, and it was just like, I wish I could have had a little more time over there. I think that would be the first thing, and really understanding. Like I would even talk to my daughter. Well, you just went to Barcelona. What did you do? She goes, oh, well, I didn't know what to do. Like I would say, really study of what is known in that area, and really, be able to see all what you want to see.
So do your research ahead of time.
Yeah, for sure.
It sounds like you definitely want to go back.
Oh yeah, for sure. I want to go back to Italy, and I was more in the northern part of Italy, so I want to go to the southern part, to Puglia and Rome and Pompeii and all that area, and Naples, you know. So.
Awesome. And then on a couple of questions on value adds, cost savings, and best practices, if I understood correctly, you used a travel aggregator site. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that was Expedia. Is that correct?
Yes, Expedia.
Okay.
I used.
Did it allow you to compare prices abroad, or did you look at other sites?
Yeah, what I would try to do, what I always tend to do when I'm traveling, I always go to the main site, right? And that's why I use Expedia. But then what I'll do is I'll go to the actual hotel that I find on Expedia and see if a lot of times they might have some deals or compare in that way. But it's just easy. Expedia it just gives me what it needs to give me. You know, sometimes I'll go to Kayak just to kind of see all the different stuff. But it seemed like everybody was pretty close to each other in regards to that.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you again for sharing that information. And for people who want to know more about your trip or just might be interested in contacting you as well, I understand we have a couple of links up here for you. And for the people who are listening through the podcast, you can reach Rob at Brandon, spelled BRANDONRE, like real estate group.com, or at www.brandonrealestategroup.com. Are those the best ways to reach you, Rob?
Yep, that'd be perfect.
Awesome. Well, Rob, I really want to thank you for taking the time to meet with me and talk with our students a little bit about both Milan and Prague. I know I enjoyed it, so I appreciate you taking the time to spend with me on this. For my students that are out there listening or watching, more specifically watching through YouTube, if you can ring the bell icon, it'll let you know when new videos are up. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. And if you like this video and you want to see more, please give it a thumbs up in order to give us a positive review. Also, if you are listening on the podcast, please go to and rate us. We really do appreciate it. So thank you so very much. Again, Rob, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. And for all my students that are out there, make every day a travel adventure. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye now.